Chiefs Kingdom, if you want Kansas City to extend Chris Jones, then hit that like button. Like this video. I want to get this deal done. He wants to get this deal done. I think you do as well. And if you agree with me, hit that like button. I'm Harrison Graham here on the Chiefs Report. Is it something or nothing? And by it, I mean Chris Jones sent out I don't want to call it a cryptic tweet, may or may not have been a cryptic tweet yesterday, but just kind of wanted to dive into this and get into the latest on Chris Jones as he, of course, continues his holdout from training camp. Here's the tweet. Very simple. Kansas City, KC, ... I love you. Nothing more, nothing less, no pictures, nothing. Does this mean something? You know, because athletes use social media to send messages. If you don't think they do, you're wrong. They do. Believe me. When they unfollow teams and untag them in their Twitter bio, they're not doing that because they're bored. They're doing it because they want more money or they are unhappy or whatever the case may be. This may not necessarily mean something, but I'm not going to completely dismiss it. Now, I did see, I think Braden Turner, I want to credit him with this. He tweeted out these photos. He's had tweets in the past where he just says, I love you, KC, but these have photos of like winning championships or something like that, and they're not in the midst of a holdout. So I'm not really going to equate those to this, right? Like August 8th, a month before the season, you haven't been at training camp, you want a new contract extension. That's not a tomato situation. That's okay, maybe it means nothing, but it might actually mean something. So we know Chris Jones does love Kansas City. He says he wants to be a Chief for life, but things can change in the NFL. Sports are fluid. What's true today may not be true tomorrow, as one of my mentors once told me. Was Chris Jones sending a message to the Chiefs, or does that tweet at least carry some weight about something? Type Y for yes if you think it does. Type in for no, you don't think it does. I think there's at least a little something to this, but curious to see what you guys think. I've got 3 theories. One, maybe a more positive thing, that maybe an extension's getting closer. Maybe there's progress being made, and he's saying, hey, I love you, Kansas City. Like, we're going to be together for a long, long time. Now, he sent that tweet out yesterday, and we're almost 24 hours later, so it's kind of like, okay, I'm a little more lukewarm on that theory now at this point in time. Theory number 2, Jones is unhappy. He's sending a bit of a message. I think that's the most likely theory, if I had to be completely honest, that he's like, don't have a deal. We're still far apart in negotiations. I want to be in camp, but I can't. I'm going to tweet this out. I'd give that the like 40-ish% theory, with the first one being 30, and then this last one being 30 or so. The tweet means literally nothing. Like, he's just like, I love you, KC. He's bored. I think there's a chance that's the case. I think there's a chance that the extension is getting closer, but I think more likely, considering we're 2 weeks into training camp, 2+ weeks, and he doesn't have a deal, is that he's unhappy with the situation, and quite frankly, I wouldn't blame him because several defensive tackles have gotten paid this offseason. More on this discussion to come, but I do want to shout out our sponsor today, and that is Rhone. The Chiefs Report is presented by Rhone, and we appreciate them for sponsoring today's show and addressing me today with one of their summer polos, part of the Commuter Collection, which is the most comfortable, breathable, and flexible set of products known to man, and here is why. Rhone gets you ready for every occasion with the Commuter Collection. It offers the most comfortable pants, dress shirts, quarter zips, and polos, which I'm rocking today, and what Rhone does as well is they're going to have you feel comfortable while looking good as well with their 4-way stretch fabric, very breathable. These are machine washable clothes as well. If you have a business meeting, you can dress up nice, throw a jacket on if you need to. If you want to go more cash, you want to play golf, throw on one of these polos as well. Use code ChatSports at Rhone.com/ChatSports. That's going to get you 20% off. It's RHONE.com/ChatSports. Rhone. Check out that link in the comments and description, and you guys can get a discount. Okay, here's my take. Nothing's changed for me. The Chiefs need Chris Jones, period. You need to pay him. Like, if you don't think that's the case, I question your knowledge a little bit. And if you want to compare it to Tyreek Hill, I don't think you can, because when you trade Tyreek Hill, you still had Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce. You trade Chris Jones, like we're going to outline here in a little bit, the rest of that defense doesn't look like an elite bunch. I'll just put it like that. Now, Brett Veach recently weighed in on the Chiefs' stance in all of this. He says, we have no intentions of trading Chris. Since the start of the offseason, Chris has been right at the top of priorities. Every year it's a different scenario and a different dynamic. One of the dynamics this year was the fact that some of the players in that position group didn't get done until late, so there was a natural holding pattern. Now, there's a little truth to that, but a lot of these guys have gotten paid this offseason, and it's kind of been sprinkled throughout the offseason, right? Like, Daron Payne got paid like 4 months ago. That's not like later in the offseason, right? Dexter Lawrence, that's been a couple months. Jeffrey Simmons, it's been a while. Okay, Quentin Williams, yeah, that was recently. That was a little before training camp, but most of these were closer to the start of free agency than they were to the start of training camp. I'd have to go check exact dates, but I feel very confident in that. And now we're 2 weeks into camp, and Chris Jones doesn't have a deal. So even if you're even in the camp of, well, some of these deals came in late, so that affects the market. Well, even Quentin Williams, that's been over a month. Like, it's not like that happened last week and you're renegotiating. Like, we've known what the situation is for a while, and I've kind of been in the camp of you got to make him the second highest paid defensive tackle behind Aaron Donald. And quite frankly, he was better than Donald last year. I wouldn't give him 32 a year, but I'd give him 27, 28. I think he's worth that with $80+ million guaranteed. That's just what it's going to take. And you take him off this defensive line a minute who's suspended for 6 games now, like, that's a pretty weak group, man. Like, it's just not the same impact without Chris Jones. There's just no doubt about it. And you want to take a look at the defense as a whole. I think these are probably your best defensive players. You have some other good ones as well, but your second best player is probably Nick Bolton, who I love, but he's an off-ball linebacker. Like, he can't give you the impact Chris Jones does. L'Jarius Sneed, I love the guy. Versatile corner, but he's not giving you the impact Chris Jones does. Trent McDuffie quickly rising as a good corner in this league. I like Willie Gay Jr., but again, it's an off-ball backer. You got a safety in Justin Reed. Karlaftis is a promising young pass rusher. Amenihu, who's suspended, nice young player. But the point being is, it's a big drop-off after Chris Jones. Nick Bolton is a damn good football player, but he does not play a position that has equal value or importance than Chris Jones does. Like, there's a scenario where Bolton doesn't even get a second deal with the Chiefs because he is an off-ball linebacker. You can't let Chris Jones go, man. I know you can say, oh, he's under contract this year. He has to show up. You want to play that game? Like, I just don't think that's a smart way to operate if you're Kansas City and Brett Veach. I still think this will eventually get done, but if you told me 2 months ago that we'd be, almost August 10th, almost first preseason game, and no deal would be in place, I would not have believed that. I thought something would have been resolved by now. Hit that subscribe button here on the Chiefs Report as we're trying to get to 43,000 subs here on the channel. We're just over 250 away. We're crawling, scratching our way to get there. I would love to get there by second preseason game. Probably going to be tough to get there by Sunday, but can we get there by the second one? I would love to make that happen. Help us out. Daily coverage here on the Chiefs Report. You're not going to want to miss out. Okay, let's get to some camp notes today. The only 3 players outside of Chris Jones who didn't practice today. Tight end Jody Fortson still dealing with a shoulder. Wide receiver Kadarius Toney still recovering from that knee injury. Now, good news on him. Sounds like he will be ready for week 1, and I believe Andy Reid said that about L'Jarius Sneed as well. So that's a positive development. Both of those guys dealing with knee issues. Let's talk about Skyy Moore a little bit, who's had a very strong camp. He spoke to reporters today, and the common word I would say was like comfortable. He's very comfortable now that he's had a full year in this system, a second offseason under his belt now, and I think we might see this year what we thought we might get out of him as a rookie. Here's some of what he had to say today in terms of his comfort with Mahomes and the offense. He says, I'm way more comfortable. I've got that year of experience, so I feel like there's certain things I already know. I went through a whole season, so I shouldn't have to get coached on where to line up or anything that happens before the snap. There's been a couple of plays where it's been the exact same look as last year, but I just treated it differently. Last year it might have been an incomplete pass, whereas this year I catch it and go for more yards. And I think what he's saying there is, well, first of all, my response is more reps, more comfort. But I think what Skyy Moore is saying there is, like, yeah, last year as a rookie, like, I might have just run the play that was called. But when you play with the quarterback like Mahomes, you have to be creative, right? Because when he breaks contain, you got to break off routes. You got to read the play and say, oh, okay, the safety's playing playing deep. I'm going to pull off and just kind of sit in this zone right here. Like, that's kind of what Mahomes does, right? Like, he's very much a backyard quarterback. We're like, sure, we're going to call the play, but you got to read the coverage as a receiver and get that chemistry with Mahomes and understand what he's looking for. And I think that's kind of what he's referring to. Whereas, yeah, man, it might have been an option route last year, and I didn't run what Patrick wanted, so we didn't connect on that. Whereas this year we're doing more of that. Last year he very much had a bit of a disappointing season, but we kind of started to see it click in the playoffs. He had that big touchdown in the Super Bowl, which was very nice as well. I think I said this recently, but I'll say it again here. Bit of a bold prediction, not including Travis Kelce. I think Skyy Moore leads this team in yards among receivers. I think Kadarius Toney coming into the offseason was viewed as that guy who has the best chance to be a number one, and I still think ceiling-wise he is, but he's just so fickle. Like, you don't know how many games he's going to miss with injury, and, between the ears, sometimes there's stuff going on. Skyy Moore's got his head screwed on straight. Like, you listen to him talk today, like, he sounds like a guy who's been in this system for over a year. I think we get a big jump from him. I would not be surprised at all if his production tripled and he had 60-plus catches and 700-800 yards this season. Now, which wide receiver will lead this team in yardage? Last year it was Juju with 933. I really think it's going to be Skyy Moore. Now, I don't think any of these guys will go for 1,000-plus, but I think Skyy Moore's got a real chance to go 50, 60 catches, 700-800 yards, and, if it's by committee, that might lead the team in yards among the receivers. All right, guys, appreciate you for tuning in to today's Chiefs Report. Be sure to subscribe, keep the noties turned on in case any breaking news occurs, like a Chris Jones extension. We'll have you covered. Otherwise, we will be back tomorrow with another edition of the Chiefs Report.